Every massive system requires an initial burst of raw energy to set it into motion. In the cosmic calendar, that first spark is Ashwini, the celestial mansion initiating the zodiac cycle. This diagram shows the exact starting point of that cycle. Ashwini spans from 0 degrees to 13 degrees and 20 minutes in Aries. It acts as the explosive match strike that ignites life. This placement gives the native a distinct title. In astrology, an individual born under this star is called the winning horse, the natural runner designed to take the lead in life's earliest races. This scale illustrates their planetary influences. On one side sits Mars, Lord of Aries, supplying a fiery, aggressive drive for immediate action. But Mars is countered by Ashwini's ruling planet, Ketu, introducing the exact opposite force, a radical sense of detachment. In ancient texts, Ketu is depicted as a headless body. This is a deliberate anatomical metaphor. Without a head, there is no space for the ego or for intellectual overthinking. Ketu operates purely on raw instinct. To map the destiny created by this volatile mix of aggression and detachment, we have to look past the stars entirely. We have to look at a very specific terrestrial science, the biology of the horse. Ancient sages observed the horse as a hard science, using the animal's physical traits to accurately map human behavior and health. This biological connection begins with a myth. The sun god Surya, radiating intense heat, forced his wife Sanjna to seek refuge in a forest. Searching for her, Surya transformed himself into a horse, eventually finding Sanjna, who had also taken the form of a mare. When the two deities united in this equine form, their offspring, the Ashwini Kumaras, were born directly through the heavy exhaling breath of their noses. That mythological detail dictates the native's physical reality. People born under Ashwini often have prominent, distinct noses. This is also their greatest vulnerability, making them highly susceptible to sinus congestion and deep nasal blockages. We see their psychology reflected in the horse's internal organs. A horse physically lacks the ability to vomit. It possesses a strictly one-way digestive system. In the human mind, this translates to an inability to recant. Ashwini natives make rapid, split-second decisions, and they refuse to backtrack. Even if they realize a choice was wrong, they will run with it rather than admit defeat and turn around. This drive is a hardwired behavioral loop. Their need for forward movement is established from the moment of birth. Those mythological offspring, the Ashwini Kumaras, grew up to become the divine physicians of the cosmos. They held secret methods for cellular regeneration, famously rejuvenating elderly blind sages. This healing lineage points directly to the modern Ashwini career path. They naturally gravitate toward medicine, producing unconventional surgeons, psychologists, and chemists who retain an eternal youthfulness, often looking years younger than their actual age. That healing energy is always paired with extreme physical speed. You find them thriving in fast-paced, high-impact sports, like the famously quick-footed Ashwini native Muhammad Ali. They also sprint into high-velocity industries. They are aviation pilots, logistics experts, and ambitious founders driving startups and space exploration from absolute zero. Scholars used this phonetic code to instantly identify a person's birth quarter. These 4 sounds correspond to Navamsha signs, revealing the mind's sublayer. The first operates on Aries' survival instinct, second on Taurus's material needs, third on Gemini's intellect, fourth on Cancer's emotional awareness. This phonetic mapping allowed a scholar to diagnose dozens of specific pain areas and mental stressors without ever seeing a full birth chart, turning simple sound into a systematic psychological assessment. There is a severe shadow side to moving this fast. The compulsion to act first and think later leaves the native highly susceptible to impulsiveness and puts them at a high risk for sudden vehicle accidents. Astrologically, this chaos stems from Saturn. Saturn is the planet of boundaries and delayed gratification, and it is debilitated in Ashwini. For these individuals, developing routine and strict discipline is a monumental daily struggle. To survive this, ancient astrologers noted a safety valve known as the 32-year rule. The aggressive tendencies of the native often do not stabilize until age 32, the milestone where true emotional maturity finally arrives. Practical daily actions can ground this restless energy early on. Drawing directly from the biology of the horse, natives benefit immensely from a herbivore-leaning diet, relying on pulses and chickpeas for their primary protein. But the most critical remedy involves the lungs. Because their internal spiritual engine demands a massive intake of oxygen, practicing pranayama, or breath control, actively regulates their nervous system. In Vedic thought, the 7 horses pulling the sun's chariot represent the flow of vitality through the 7 energy centers of the human body. Ashwini's true function is to drive this life force up through the spinal pathway. When the native finally stops rushing and surrenders their ego to Ketu's headless wisdom, they stop running in circles. Their chaotic speed focuses, transforming them into an unstoppable force for restorative healing.